We are back with more of The Guy Dawson Show at the World Center of Broadcast Media, WCOBM.com. And by the way, the message line is open. I love it when we get messages, don't you, Quan?
Yeah, someone you can feel free. www.wcobm.com. Live chats.
You get on that live chat line and you can ask questions. We have Dr. Annette Tejero. She is a congressional candidate in District 3 here in Nevada, and we're going to be talking about some impactful issues over the next half hour. And if you have some questions that you'd like to ask her, please feel free to be a part of the chat line. And I've been hearing so many things about you, Dr. Tejero, and person after person has been approaching me and asking me to have you on my show. And then we happened to get together last night at Gene Wood's birthday party, and I had to bring you in the studio because I believe in karma and fate, and there you were.
Oh, thank you so much, Guy. But yeah, you have been hearing about me because I am in the community. Unlike some congressional candidates that spend their time probably going out there and trying to get just money from people, I actually do spend time with the community, and I actually do speak to a lot of people. So they were approaching you from probably all kinds of different angles, huh?
Yes, they were. Dr. Tejero is very visible in the community right now, and she's in the middle of a race, and you ran for Congress a few years ago as well.
I did. I ran in 2014, but I ran in the 1st Congressional District. So,
and what was that experience? Was that the first time that you had ever run for Congress?
That was the first time I had ever run for Congress, and the odds were totally against me because running as a Republican, there's only about 22% Republican in that district, and there's 51% Democrat. Now, that said, I was also going against a 22-year incumbent who everybody knows, Dina Titus, and she also spent 1,000% more than we did on our campaign. She had access to the media on a regular basis, and we were kind of the unknown commodity. There was also a libertarian, and there was an independent American in the race who had 5% of the vote, but I actually got 38% of the vote, which is 16% more than I would have been expected to get just on registration alone. So
very liberal district, and I happen to be, in my public relations firm happens to be representing someone who will be running against Dina Titus in that district during this campaign. Her name is Mary Perry, and we haven't had Mary by here yet,
no,
but
not yet.
She will be stopping by soon. So I applaud you for having the courage to go up against such a large political figure as Dina Titus,
yes.
and to get 38% of the vote it's really extraordinary.
Well, and I also made her, as an elected official now, actually spend more time in the community, possibly solving some things that she might not have been motivated to do because I highlighted some issues in the community.
Yeah, I think it's important. Political campaigns are important for many reasons, and I think the most important is that it keeps people on their toes. If you have someone who is an incumbent, and we can see that in many branches of our government, where you have these people who have served terms of 20 years and 30 years, and people are so afraid of even challenging them that they basically begin to feel as if they are
They don't have
untouchable.
to do anything. They don't have to do anything. They can just keep their job and not do anything for the community.
While we're talking about that, I know something that you are very passionate about,
Yes.
Dr. Tejero, is some of the things that are happening in terms of campaign finance.
Oh, boy.
With us being in this political climate that we're in right now, where it's all over the news every day, will you share some of your views on the political process in terms of campaign finance? What's working, what's not working?
You know, the rules for campaign finance are extremely strict, and they're that way because the public has asked public officials to be more transparent as to where they're getting their money from and how they're spending it. In my race, that seems to be an issue for some of my opponents who don't necessarily transparently spend their money correctly or actually accept the money correctly. So, and we have problems with people wanting to go to Congress, and they're going to be in charge of our finances as a country, and they can't even deal with their own finances. And I think that your viewers, if they are locally here in Las Vegas, they've had access to the newspapers recently where two of my opponents have been highlighted for either taking in contributions and manipulating them inappropriately or not being able to pay their taxes. And so therefore they did not run their businesses on the up and up and have problems. So one of those was featured in the paper. That was Michael Roberson. And he's being chastised for moving political donations around, perhaps to avoid the limits that there are, because we don't really, there are limits set, and the limits are set so that someone can't outright purchase a candidate all for themselves. So when you look at what happened, he may have circumvented some of those rules in a somewhat creative and perhaps not legal way. So that's him. And then most recently, last night, we are aware that the liens that one of my opponents, Michelle Fiore, has are now up in the forefront again, because guess what? As political candidates, we also have to submit financial disclosures so that people know who we owe debt to and what our assets are. And apparently, Ms. Fiore did not disclose the liens, which are actually public debt, that she owes to the U.S. government when she did those financial disclosures. So again, transparency is huge. I think that the public right now is asking for politicians, because they're career politicians, to be more open and transparent. And that's why you're getting a lot of this.
Right. It's so interesting when you think these are professional politicians.
Yes, they are.
Who understand
both
the
of them.
process, and they've run for office multiple times. They've held
Exactly.
offices. Well, what is it that makes a person think that they could be in a position like that and not be under intense scrutiny, particularly
Yes.
when you're running against other people who want your job, or who aspire to do what you want to do?
Well, more importantly, the public sector, they want to have people in there that actually look out for the benefit of everybody. And when you have people looking out for their own benefit, that's a problem. So if you're going to be a career politician and you're going to very early on show that you're more concerned about what you're going to get out of the deal than what the public's going to get out of the deal, then you stop being a public servant and you start becoming a career politician. So a lot of people are choosing candidates in this election year because they're kind of fed up with that. So that means that for me, there's also another candidate that has some questionable donations that also violate, or other federal statutes that we're bound by, because we just can't have everybody give us everything, because that's kind of a way of purchasing people.
Isn't that a part of the outcry, though? And why there are certain political candidates, and again, on the Guy Dawson show, we don't really get very much into specific endorsement of candidates. I mean, I like what you're doing, and so that was why I had you come on. But overall, there's an outcry, like you said,
Absolutely.
when it comes to politicians being manipulated by others to take certain stances on things.
Yeah, and what that happens for us and the public is, if someone goes into an elected office, because they have all this power, there comes responsibility to not be playing favorites, to not have cronies that you look out for. And when politicians decide to take money that perhaps is inappropriate, or to do things that are inappropriate, then you start to wonder, they can't really be impartial. They can't really defend us.
Oh, Dr. Annette Tijero is a congressional candidate in District 3 here in Nevada. And when we return, I want to talk more about campaign finance and what it's like to be on the campaign trail. Me working with Mary Perry, I see the hard work that people put into when they want to become public servants. And I would definitely like to talk more about that in a few minutes.
And you are the
Absolutely.
doctor too. I want
Yes.
to find out that
And
part.
also a
Thank
doctor,
you.
yes. We'll be back in a few minutes with more of The Guy Dawson Show at WCOBM.com.